Let me go to the governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Soludo, who is joining us virtually from Awka, the Anambra State capital. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Professor Charles Soludo, for joining us tonight. Interestingly, it's your 6th month in office, and your Soludo solutions. How is that going in the last 6 months?
Thank you very much, Sheil, and thank you for having me. It's really a great pleasure to be on. Well, 6 months down the road, I will say that first to say that I applied for the job, and so far, no surprises, no complaints. Anambra, we're moving, the Soludo solution is moving according to plan. And we've spent the last 6 months tackling what I might describe as the foundational issues, the core foundational issues along the 5 key pillars of our agenda, be it in the area of security, law and order, be it in the area of economic transformation towards having an industrial technology leisure hub, or our social agenda, as well as the one on governance and having greater transparency and prudence and fiscal management and bringing back, reorienting our value system. And then the 5th, obviously, is on the environment, having towards a clean, green, and more planned and sustainable cities, communities, and markets. Along these lines, we have been, like I said, dealing with the foundational issues. Of course, every Nigerian knows that we came into office at a very turbulent time in the area of security, with about 8 local governments in Anambra State literally taken over by the criminals in more than 15 camps, and as the case may be, and held the state hostage. Everybody knew, even during the campaigns, most of us couldn't even campaign freely in much of the South Senatorial Zone. But we've come very determined with a plan, carrot and stick, engagement. And I must commend the people of Anambra State, all the stakeholders, the security forces, the police, the army, the navy, the civil defense, vigilante, and then the people themselves for their massive cooperation and partnership in dealing with that. Then in the area of economic transformation, we've been trying to put together the key enablers. Security, of course, is number 1. Second is dealing with the issue of electricity. We now have a security as an electricity master plan, working with the EEDC and other stakeholders and potential providers of embedded and power to be able to secure 24/7 electricity in at least some of the key, the 4 major cities, as well as industrial parks. Of course, in the area of transportation. Yesterday, when I marked the 6th month in office, I marked it by flagging off about 60.4 kilometers of roads around 3 geopolitical zones, bringing to a total of about 80 kilometers of roads, strategic economic roads that are of strategic importance. And we are on course within the next 2 months to completing it to at least 220 kilometers of roads around the state. Very strategic economic roads that will ease traffic, ease the cost of doing business, and ease traffic. Anambra has the 2nd highest traffic jam after Lagos, highest population density, but we're determined to deal with the transport logjam. And of course, having a clean and green place, urban regeneration agenda, the silt and the waterways, and cleaning the silt in our drainages, and cleaning the place, and tackling waste management, and so on and so forth. You know, metronizing our Made in Anambra agenda. On our social agenda, we're on course now to recruit about 4,000 to 5,000 teachers, recruiting doctors and nurses for our hospitals as well. We want to end the era of schools without teachers or hospitals without doctors and nurses, as the case may be. On governance, we're putting foundational issues in the area of fiscal prudence, strict fiscal prudence, managing resources, doing more with less, And then getting on to issue of transparency in terms of fiscal accountability, dealing with the issue of technology everywhere and everything technology. As the case may be, our internally generated revenue is now being powered almost 100% by technology, as the case may be, and we're gradually inching up with a very high expectation in terms of target, as the case may be. On environment, of course, we have regenerative agriculture, where and so on. On environment, where, like I said, we're cleaning the place, greening it. Environment is our number one after security existential threat. Anambra is the erosion capital of the country, and we're working very hard to clean it and tackle this head on, planting our cities, getting the, we launched planting 1 million trees per annum. Our agriculture, we're also planting our coconut and palm revolution to help with the green economy and get our environment rejuvenated, and of course dealing with the erosion menace and so on and so forth. Of course, the agenda is quite huge. I can't probably in this.
All right. Prof, could you please slash back a bit? It seems that your frame is not very so if you could just move back away from your device a bit so that we can be able to see your face clearly. We seem not to be able to get your, yeah.
Are you seeing it better?
Oh, perfect. Yeah. You have a lovely hat there, so so everything is in right frame. I guess, so let's continue the conversation now. You've spoken about every strata that you have tried to work on based on the agenda you came into office. But it's unfortunate that security is still a bit of a trouble. Flagging off 60-something kilometers of roads just in 6 months of getting to office, and you have said how long this
About 80.
Okay, great.
80 actually, not 60 yesterday.
60
yes.
yesterday, good, yeah. So, and you've given a timeline in which you're going to deliver these roads as you're in office. But without security, I mean, some of these things are still going to be, they won't be effectively utilized. Now, just a few days ago, a senator in Anambra State was attacked, Senator Ofanyoba. Who are these unknown gunmen? Have you identified them?
Yes, thank you very much. I thank you for that. Let me make the point again. I repeated it. I said it before. Given where things were when we came, we're not saying that Anambra is 100% secured. Of course, there is no crime-free society anywhere in the world. Occasionally, you hear shootings in schools and so on in America or in malls and so on and so forth. And but everybody in Anambra, the 8.5 million residents of Anambra, can testify to you that insecurity in Anambra has come down to the barest minimum. At least in the last 3 months or so, such kind of things that used to be, when albeit daily occurrence, just come almost to a screeching halt. You would occasionally, like I said, 15 camps here decimated. Even yesterday, some other places they were gathering, decimated, who degraded the infrastructure, and I don't think they have the capacity again to come with the kind of ferocity they had in the past. Occasionally, you might have flashes. And I had paid tribute to the gallant security forces and our own Anambra vigilante, and the people of Anambra for their massive cooperation. So Anambra has been quiet, relatively peaceful, and we're pursuing this agenda. Compared to many other places in Nigeria, I would dare to say that if we were to have the statistics over the last 3 months, I think Anambra will compare favorably as one of the safest comparatively. But then came this big bomb on Sunday last week, exactly a week today, to the surprise of everybody. This came. And I can tell you we are pursuing that very vigorously. There are several leads to this, whether this was an orchestrated and pinpoint attack. There are all kinds of theories as to why and how that happened. But we are pursuing these people, and I can bet you it won't be too long before we pin them down, so to speak. And that is the key thing that we have been able to achieve. We're not relenting 1 minute, 24/7. The operations are ongoing. Even yesterday, very massive operations that went on in some parts. Many communities are now having their New Yam festivals, the thing that wasn't possible in the past. Even communities having their festivals come back, taking back their communities, and so on and so forth. And millions of events on Saturday here. We had the Youth Anambra Fashion Expo taking place. We've had high-profile visits and events and the stadium and so on and so forth. 2 weeks ago, we hosted the Cardinal from, a week or so ago. We hosted the Cardinals. The new Cardinal and all the Catholic bishops in Nigeria were in Anambra. Literally shut down the state and so on and so forth. Those kind of things are quite rare now. But, it won't disappear overnight. It took years for them to take root, to build about 15 camps all over, especially the 8 local governments that were imperiled. Probably not going to disappear 100% in 3 months or in 6 months. But we are unrelenting. We are putting in everything. We are determined that Anambra, regardless of what else happens anywhere else in Nigeria, we are determined to make Anambra safe, secure for the citizens, for the residents, and for business.
So one of my question, and perhaps this comes from the questions on the minds of a lot of people, who the real identities of the perpetrators of these attacks in the Southeast, not only in your state, they're popularly tagged the unknown gunmen. And some people have argued that they are known, actually. In fact, some people say some of them are locals. Have you been able to unveil, have you been able to identify, are these criminals, are they agitators? Who are these guys? What do they want?
They are plain criminals. Full stop. Nothing else. Of course, there are some people who now hide under this, a bunch of these criminals hide under the cloak of agitation and so on. But IPOB has repeatedly distanced itself from the criminals. These criminals in the camps and so on and so forth, they are kidnappers and just mere plain criminals. It's lucrative criminality and idolatry. These are the two things that they've come with. Anambra is, well, without a doubt, the richest state in the Southeast. So this is the place where kidnapping has the highest value. So you have the highest concentration here. If you have an Okada rider who goes into the bush, learns how to shoot, and becomes part of a criminal gang, they kidnap someone and they make millions. Of course, it's not easy to convince him to want to go back tomorrow to his Okada or, vulcanized or driving a keke and all that kind of thing. But we are decimating them. We approached it with a carrot and stick. So I say they are not unknown gunmen. They are unknown to the extent that maybe they are not caught immediately at the act. But I can tell you, we've been catching quite a lot of them. And they know that something is happening, that Anambra is not safe for them. Never again.
So, these people that you have caught, are they locals? Are they people who are coming into the state, or they are locals, they're from Anambra State, those who have turned criminal, Anambrarians who have turned criminals?
Let me be clear about it. 100% of all the people that we have caught are Igbos. 100%. There's no one, the hoax about somebody invading from somewhere and so on. It's all hoax. It's 100% Igbos on Igbos. That's the first point. Second is that there's quite a chunk of them. Of course, Anambra is, like I said, receives disproportionate share of influx of people from other Southeast states and other parts of Nigeria in the Southeast. And so at the initial stage when we started, in fact, the first set of people we caught were 100% Igbos from other Southeast states and none from Anambra. But as we went on, we then discovered that a whole lot of the youths who have been taken to these bushes got indoctrinated and got initiated into all kinds of things, happen also to be citizens of Anambra State or indigenes of Anambra State. And we're dealing with all of this. For us, there's no distinction whether it's from Anambra or it's not from Anambra. Anybody in a camp, anybody in the bush with a gun, we treat as a criminal. There's no other objective. You can't be in any bush or in any camp in Anambra with a gun. How do you eat? How do you feed? How do you feed 1 month, 2 months, 6 months in the camp or in the bush? You must be involved in criminality. And that's what they have been doing. Every camp that we have been able to dismiss and the people arrested and the people gotten, together with the native doctors who prepare their charms and so on and so forth. I mean, there is no place for them here in Anambra State. And that message, we're very, very firm and determined about it. No space in Anambra will accommodate the criminals. They are known. They are not unknown criminals. They come from homes, they have parents, they have relations, they have people from their villages, and so on and so forth. But thank goodness, like I commended the people of Anambra, people are now coming forward with information as to about their identities. So that's how we have been picking them.
So, Prof, I'd like to follow up on the latest incident, which is that of Sunday. Could there be any linkage, a political undertone? Could these attacks also be political in nature? What have you been able to learn from the incident?
I told you that there are many leads, and we don't want to be presumptive here. Matters of this nature, we wait until we are able to conclude on the leads and pin down all of those. There are 3 or 4 possible leads on all of this. Of course, one of which is what you just said. Possibly some people, whether it's political or for whatever objectives, may have targeted the senator. That's a possible lead. There is also the other bit about him running into a group that's actually for somebody else. I mean, waiting, for someone else. And then he ran into them and they opened fire thinking that they were being posted or something like that. And so there are all kinds of, I don't want to get into the details here. The security agencies are on top of the situation. And I must say that the security agencies, the DSS, the police, the army, the navy, everybody, vigilante and civil defense, they're on top of the situation. And the Anambra people are eternally grateful to them for all their assistance and their doggedness and determination to wipe off criminality from here. Because light and darkness cannot meet. Where Anambra is prided as the light of the nation. And in this context, light and darkness cannot mix, so to speak. We have a single-minded.
All right. Let's take a break, Prof. And when we come back, there's so much more to talk about. The 2023 election is there. The issue of the economy is also an issue.
I'm not hearing you.
Okay, I'm saying that we need to take a break, but please stay with me.
Hello?
Hello, Your Excellency, still stay with me because we'll be back in a moment and we'll be talking with you more on the 2023 elections, the state of the nation and the economy, plus some final thoughts on the NY poll and the controversy. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back. We've been speaking with Professor Charles Soludo, the governor of Anambra State, who has been speaking with us virtually from Awka, the Anambra State capital. Thank you so much indeed, Prof, for your time tonight. It does look like we've stripped you of your hat, and we can see you with your trademark.
That's my trademark.
Your trademark identity. Right. Well, let's conclude on this issue of the security so that we can move on to some other issues. So if you have said that these people are not aliens, they are mostly Igbos who are attacking Igbos, And you're saying, okay, when should you get the real details of the attack and the killings around Senator Ifeanyi Ubah, the public will get to know what you unravel. But also, is a fear towards the 2023 election. How safe is your state? And perhaps, what are the measures you're taking as a state, knowing full well that some of these attacks are now prominent around the perimeters of Anambra State?
I don't understand that. I mean, I think your assertion is wrong. When you say they are common around the perimeters of Anambra, I think you are wrong. And I think I've said there is a narrative that you think you keep repeating. And that narrative is quite wrong. Like I said, if you have a high-profile shooting in a school in the U.S., and then somebody concludes that the whole of the U.S., everybody is, they are shooting in the U.S. everywhere. That's the wrong narrative and conclusion, that you have a high-profile, attack that occurred Sunday. But you haven't reported what has gone on in the last 3 months. How many of such have you had in the last 3 months, even more? And another thing, we need to put that in context. And like I said to you, Anambra is quiet and is getting quieter. And we are unrelenting in making sure that we root out the entire place. There is no crime-free society anywhere in the world. And I can bet my chest that compared to most states in Nigeria, relative to what obtains in most states in Nigeria, Anambra will certainly rank in the top 10 safest states to be in today. That without any fear of contradiction, I can say that. And now coming to your point about 2023 election. 2023 election will happen in Anambra. We're ready for it. We're getting ready for it. And we'll keep intensifying efforts to make the place even safer. And then also there will be census next year. We're also preparing for that as well. We have over 2 million registered voters in Anambra. And part of our objective is to be sure that these over 2 million people will have a conducive environment to be able to cast their votes. It is their civic right to do that. And we want to be able to make some statements and make our votes count. The 0.01%, which is, in fact, they're not up to 0.01%, the number of these criminals, cannot define us, cannot define the other 8.5 million residents of the state who wake up every morning going about their normal business, unperturbed and so on and so forth. That you'll have one sporadic shooting somewhere, isolated case, as it has become now, in the last 3 months or so, cannot become something, oh, it's happening in Anambra State. That's besides the point. The other day, we had a full international community, all the ambassadors of all the major countries in the world, together with all the development partners, financial and development institutions. They took a UN chartered flight to visit Anambra. We drove around the entire state, and they saw for themselves. I'm sure if it wasn't that, if it was a war front, I'm pretty sure their security advisories will not let them do that. And every day, like I said, normal people, millions of people, trudging on, investors are now besieging us all over the place. We're even looking for land. We're running short of land.
But Prof, the question I was driving at is the solution into a permanent fix into these issues of criminality. Now, I know you and some of your colleague governors have been talking about how you can, as governors, secure your territory. And there are conversations around how states can also take charge of their own security. What is your own philosophy, or what are you seeing as a possible solution as a state in fixing some of the security challenge that is peculiar to you?
The security challenge we have is not peculiar. Criminality all over the country. You have banditry, kidnappers, all over the country. I don't think there is any state in Nigeria that is safe from kidnappers and bandits, certainly. So that point has to be met. I don't know any state that is immune from that. How are we dealing with that? Of course, we've devised our own means, working with the security agencies, with our own Anambra Vigilante Service, working with all the critical stakeholders, the communities, the traditional rulers, the town unions, the youths, the churches, all the critical stakeholders are part of this whole business. You see, you can't defeat this by just, the gun. The people must be a part of it. And that's part of our major success so far, that the people now know, the people now understand that anyone in the bush with a gun is a criminal, nothing other than that, and they are prepared to cooperate.
All right.
So in my own state, we are dealing with that. But at the national level and the regional level, there is need for greater collaboration and cooperation cross-border, because several of these people, they crisscross the various borders. Of course, at the federal level, the federal government has a near monopoly of all the instruments of coercion, the armed forces, the exclusive list. And I think that conversation will go on further about how you can devolve that. I can see some of the candidates for presidency already talking about state police and so on. Going forward, I think these things, because all crime happen to be local, and you need some local devolving and empowerment at the local unit for people to be able to deal with these peculiar issues. So for our own case, we've got our own architecture, which we are pursuing, and which has already yielded magnificent results, and which I'm not prepared to go any further in terms of the specific details. But it seems to be working, and Anambra is getting safer and safer by the day, and the people themselves attest to this.
Prof, let me take you away from security, and perhaps, well, they say charity begins at home. A son of the soil, Peter Obi is a presidential candidate of the Labour Party. And I guess your people might be proud of what has become of Mr. Peter Obi, considering the rave. ANAP and NOI poll came out and said that if elections were to be conducted today, Peter Obi is likely to be the next president of Nigeria. And I'd like to ask you, you are his governor. What do you make of Peter Obi's chances and the sort of rave and the attention he's getting on a national stage?
Well, thank you very much. Peter Obi is my brother, is my friend, and he comes from Anambra, and I happen to be governor. He has visited me to intimate me of his ambition, and I think we are on air and videos. I congratulate him and wish him the very best of luck. I pray for him. And as I said then, he happens to be one of the two major sons of Anambra, prominent sons of Anambra, who are running for president. He is running on the Labour Party, and we're proud. But I'm a member of APUGA, and APUGA also is fielding Professor, retired Justice, Chief Judge of the state, as his own presidential candidate, Professor Umade. And I wish both of them best of luck, as it were. Who knows? Hopefully, if any of them were to become president of Nigeria, great news for ourselves. But in terms of the poll, I can only say, for now, we're only getting ready. I think the whistle for the electioneering will be blown sometime later this month, when the officially parties will begin to campaign. And probably sometime late November, December, January, we'll begin to now say parties will roll out theirs. On our own party, we're also going to roll out our own agenda, our own candidates, and our own stuff for all the elective positions, as it were. And we see how that goes. But in terms of the polls, I heard about it, 1,000 persons across the 36 states plus Abuja. That comes to 27 persons per state, who have phone, and that you call them in September, 27 persons out of 2.5 million registered voters. You call 27 persons in the state, and then you extrapolate from that that state will vote for Mr. X or Y. Doesn't matter whether it's B2B or whatever. I deal with statistics myself. That's part of my forte. I think from a sample size, from representativeness of it, and the way the country is structured, even those with forms in terms of the actual voters, and so on and so forth. I can only say, express to say, I wish that that were to be reality. But I know that that isn't. It remains to be seen. And when the campaigns begin and the candidates come out, we'll see how that goes.
All right, Prof. Let me draw out the economics in you and get some of your experience. Not as a governor of Anambra State, but I mean you have sat as the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Some extraordinary things are happening in the negative, of course. Nigeria's inflation rate surged to over 20%. That's perhaps the highest we've seen in almost 2 decades. And food inflation right now is about 23.1% as at August 2022. It's not a very good picture of the state of economy in Nigeria. And if you look at the exchange rate, it's not something that is also looking good. From where you are seated and your own experience, what can we do to drastically change the end of time, because it's moving badly, isn't it?
Well, Shenu, I think I will resist you this evening. I think you wanted to speak to me as governor of Anambra. Now you don't want me to talk again as governor of Anambra.
I'm speaking to you as a governor, okay. But I mean, as a governor, as a former governor of CBN and as an economist. So let me get the economist in you right now on this matter.
Yes. You said it all. You started by saying that, it's the highest that is born since probably 2 decades, and we know the consequences of high double-digit inflation. We know consequences of depreciating exchange rate, what it means for prices, and so on. We know the stuff about petroleum subsidy, petroleum theft, with the problems are just now, the infrastructure deficit, and all those, and so on. And we know quite a whole chunk of them. But let me say something. I mean, you summarize it yourself. I'm just summarizing what you said. And that is to say that where I sit now puts also some burden on me. I'm a member of the National Economic Council. I'm a member of the Governors Forum. And I have got, avenues to be able to put together my own thoughts, my own views in terms of what needs to be done. An agenda for the country, and I don't put out that kind of agenda on this kind of platform for you, because I have access to the finance minister, I have access to the governor of the central bank, I have access to the president, and access to the fora that I mentioned, to be able to express my own views in terms of the how, the what, and the how to be done. And which are not, basically, they're not rocket science. And that's why also the Governors Forum put together a small team that has also begun to engage, which I happen to be a member, to engage with the presidential candidates, so that this conversation will begin. I want to believe that in the next year's election, the campaigns, when it comes, several of these issues are going to be part of the conversation in terms of the hows, on security, the how on the economy, the how on human capital, the how on the environment, and the how several other issues.
Okay, Prof.
Those will become quite issues in the campaign over the next few months.
You try to resist as much as you can. But I know you. When you want to speak about a matter, you speak your mind and you don't mince words. But when you do not want to, also you have your way around it. But
I told you I will resist you today.
But that's fine. It's good to see you again, Prof. The governor of Anambra said, thank you so much, Professor Charles Soludo, for talking to us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I deeply appreciate this. It's really a great pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Let me get back to the job that people employed me to do.
Yeah. I hope you find all of the solutions you promised the people of Anambra. So thank you so much.
24/7, that's what I do. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much also, Mr. Chike, for coming tonight. And I wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you. But that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm sure Kimale. Bye-bye.